welcome to this video. Today we're talking about the power of have. Let's begin. How do you feel when you see homeless people? What do you usually do? In my case, I try to help them if I have some cash on me. Or if I have some food, I might give that to them. What about you? Okay, let's continue. I want you to please complete the sentences with your own ideas. Pause the video while you work on this. Great, we're going to share our ideas during our class. Now, think about this. If you had some money, what charities would you support and why? Would you prefer to support charities that help children, elderly people, homeless people, or even animals? Okay. And what things could you give up to help other people? Could you give up your house, your car, or part of your salary? Think about this because we're going to read it during our class. Great. Now, I want you to please read these sentences with me. Think about when these sentences are happening and if they are real or not. Do they have the same meaning? Let's see. If I were a millionaire, I would help poor people. If I had won the lottery last year, I would have bought a house on the beach. If I had studied medicine, I would be a doctor now. If I were a man, I would have studied at an all-boys school. Well, if you notice, these sentences are not talking about the same thing, right? But they are all imaginary, so that's something that they have in common. Now, if you noticed, some of the sentences are talking about the past and some are talking about the present. So let's take a look at this. Now, today we're talking about imaginary conditionals or unreal conditionals. I want you to please pause the video while you identify the conditions and the imaginary results in the sentences. Okay, let's see. So for the conditions, you should have found if I were a millionaire, if I had won the lottery last year, if I had studied medicine, if I were a man. Now, for the imaginary results, you should have found I would help poor people. I would have bought a house on the beach. I would be a doctor now. I would have studied at an all-boys school. Okay, now think about what the conditional clauses and the main clauses have in common. If you notice, all of the conditional clauses have the word if, and the main clauses or the imaginary results have the word would. Please notice that this modal could be changed, for example, for my. However, would is the most common one. So let's take a look at how we use them. If I were a millionaire, I would help. Now, in this sentence, am I talking about a past condition and a past result? A past condition and a present or future result? A present condition and a past result? Or a present condition and a present or future result? That's right, this sentence is referring to a present condition with a present or future result. Of course, all of this is imaginary. Now, pause the video while you identify the structure I used. Okay, let's check it. So if you notice, you should have found that we used if, simple past. In this case, if you use the verb to be, you need to use only where, a comma to separate my clauses, would, and the base form of my second verb. Now, if you remember, this is called second conditional. Now, let's take a look at the next. If I had won the lottery last year, I would have bought a house on the beach. Now, pause the video while you identify what this sentence is referring to and its structure. Okay, so you should have found that this sentence is referring to a past condition with a result. And the structure I used was if plus past perfect, had in past participle, a comma, would have, and past participle. Okay, let's continue. If I had studied medicine, I would be a doctor now. Pause the video while you identify what the sentence refers to and the structure. Okay, so in this case, I'm talking about a past condition with a present or even a future result. And the structure was if plus past perfect, comma, would, and base form. Okay, now, if I were a man, I would have studied at an all-boys school. Pause the video while you work on this. Great, so if you notice here, I'm talking about a present condition and a past result. The structure I used was if plus simple past, comma, would, have, and past participle. So, let's continue. Let's go to workbook page 34, exercise A. Please read the biography of a billionaire. Later, you're going to complete the sentences with the correct form of the verbs here. Pause the video. Okay, now that you finished reading, let's go ahead and work on the exercise. Pause the video while you complete the sentences. Okay, let's check. If Joria had listened to his teacher, he might not have become so successful. If you notice here, I didn't use would, but I'm using the modal might. Number 2. Joria might not be so successful now if he hadn't lost some of his jobs. 3. If he hadn't collaborated with a hairstylist, his products wouldn't have attracted the attention of so many salons. 4. If Joria hadn't become homeless, he might not have learned to care about other people's problems. Number 5. He might not be so well known now if he hadn't been so generous with his fortune. Did you get this correct? Great, let's continue. Now, for your homework, you're going to work on exercise B. You have to complete the questions using the correct form of the verbs in parentheses. And of course, write the answers with your own ideas. Pause the video, please. Okay, great. You should have, would you be confident now if a teacher had said to you, you will never be successful? We're going to check number 2 in class. And now, let's go to student book page 53, exercise B. Here, we're going to complete the conversations using the correct form of the verbs in parentheses. Please notice that sometimes there is more than one correct answer. Number 1. Would the Selwyns have had the idea to sell their home, do you think, if Hannah? The expensive car that day. Here, are we talking about a present or a past condition? That's right, it is a past condition, so I should use the past perfect if Hannah hadn't seen the expensive car that day. Maybe not. If the car in front of them, she to do something, but maybe she something later. Here, of course, the condition is a past condition, so I should continue using the past perfect if the car hadn't stopped in front of them. Now, in these sentences, am I talking about an imaginary present or past result? That's right, past result. So she might not have decided to do something, but maybe she would have done something later. So again, we're talking about an imaginary past result. Pause the video while you work on 2, 3, and 4. Great, we're going to check this during our class. I will